What is a parable? We use the word, rolls right off the tongue, parable of Jesus. Parables are metaphors or similes drawn from nature or common life, sometimes exaggerated, sometimes with a little hyperbole to catch attention. Usually, parables are stories that are told to express one big punchline point. However, the early Jesus groups of the 1st, 2nd, 3rd centuries did not understand that very well. They didn't get what parables were. What they tended to do was, folks, our ancient ancestors in the faith, was take all of the details of the story and make every little detail in the story symbolic of something else. In other words, they turned the parables of Jesus into allegories. Let me see if I can show you what that means with an extreme example of that. St. Augustine, pray for us. Now we're in the 5th century, right? St. Augustine of Hippo. Take his understanding of the parable of the Good Samaritan. I don't have to explain the parable of the Good Samaritan. That's one of the most easy to understand. I mean, that parable, everybody knows it, right? We've heard it many times. The parable of the Good Samaritan, okay. Let's look at Augustine's understanding of it. The parable of the Good Samaritan originally was about an Israelite who gets, roughed up, brutally robbed, and badly injured by his assailants. Okay, but Augustine, when he reads it, decides that every single detail in that story has to have some secret, cryptic, symbolic meaning. And so he comments on it thus. Now, what you see in italics there, that's the actual parable, and what you see in bold is Augustine's interpolated commentary. A certain man went down from Jerusalem to Jericho. Adam himself is meant. Jerusalem is the heavenly city of peace, from whose blessedness Adam fell. Jericho means the moon. It does? Where's he getting that from? And signifies our mortality because it is born, waxes, wanes, and dies. Thieves are the devil and his angels. They are. Who stripped him, namely of his immortality, and beat him by persuading him to sin and left him half dead. Because insofar as man can understand and know God, he lives. But insofar as he is wasted and oppressed by sin, he is dead. He is therefore called half dead. You see what Augustine's done? He went through that whole parable, and with every single word in it, he assigned some cryptic and symbolic meaning. In other words, what Augustine has done is turned a parable of Jesus, a metaphorical story, into an allegory. Scholars like Dr. Richard Wardbaugh are convinced that not a single parable of Jesus originally was an allegory. Jesus didn't tell allegories. He told parables. Almost every scholar agrees Jesus never told allegorical stories. Turning them all into allegories was the result of people living far removed from the original context, clueless about the meaning of these stories, and so they cooked up some pretty fancy and often fantastical stuff. This becomes for us a very big problem as we explore parables today and the rest of this weekend, that should read.